Welcome to the Hello Hornets podcast, an official podcast of the Mansfield Public Schools. In this episode, we speak with Mansfield Police Department officers Kenneth Wright and Derek McCune, who are the school resource officers for the district. Officers Wright and McCune discuss the role of an SRO, the value of bridging the gap between the police department and the school district, and what they most like about their jobs. You can listen to all episodes in the series by visiting mansfieldschoolnews.com/podcast or by following the Mansfield Public Schools on Facebook or Twitter. Officer Wright, Officer McCune, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. Do you want to each take a turn saying how long you've been with the department and also how long you've been with the schools?
Sure. My name's Ken Wright. I've been with the Mansfield Police Department in one capacity or another since 1999, and I've been assigned to the Mansfield Public Schools as the school resource officer since 2015.
My name is Derek McCune. I started out as a reserve officer of the Mansfield Police Department for 2 years, and I've been on full-time for approximately 10 years. I was on the road for 5 to 6 years, and this is my fourth school year in the schools.
And how would you describe the role of what an SRO is and also why it's important?
Well, I think there's varying descriptions depending on where you are of what a school resource officer actually is. So I'll speak specifically to the way we try to think in Mansfield. School resource officer is an extension of the police department that works within the school district to be a liaison and to work with the staff of the school department as well as the students. I think that we try to break down some of the walls that have been built up by people to make sure students feel comfortable when they're in the schools, while security is a role of the school resource officer, and I think that's what most people think about when they think about police being in schools. We see it as a different role where we are in the schools to build relationships with kids so that we can prevent things before they happen and help kids inside and outside of school. So it makes it easier if kids are experiencing things outside of the school that might be detrimental to their health or their well-being, and it translates into a school setting. We can be another level of support there that would help the kids in the school department to make sure the kids are successful while they're here. We don't wear conventional uniforms. We've taken different tactics. I've gotten a K-9 partner for the last 2 years. So anything that we can do to break down barriers and build relationships with kids is what we're here to do. And so far it's been very successful. I think that we've bridged the gaps between all the different departments. It's a kind of seamless operation now where the school department is working, with us and we're working with them, and the trust has been built up. People talk about school to prison pipelines and things like that. I can't talk about other places in the country. What I can talk about is here. I think in the 6 years I've been in the school, we might have charged one kid with a crime. It's not our intention to come in here and charge kids. And in that person who even got charged with the crime, it went to the court system where it never went on their record. So we don't believe in charging kids criminally and sending them into a criminal justice system. It's just the opposite. We want to be here to be a support so that kids don't end up in the criminal justice system. So I think that's a big part of our purpose here. I don't know if Derek has anything to add to that.
Yeah, like you started talking about, being able to help the kids in school and out of school. With our being part of the police department, we have access to what happens at night and after school. So if these kids have an issue at home at night, we have a general idea of what happened, and we can, speak with the guidance counselors, things like that, to try and help support the kids the next day when they come in. Because unfortunately, some of the kids do experience some trauma at home, so we can try and help bridge that, and maybe that's why the kids acting up, things like that. Detective Wright and myself, there's plenty of kids that, we meet with on almost a daily to weekly basis, check in with them, talk to them, things like that. And it's not in a police role, it's, more like a mentorship role, trying to, be positive in their life, things like that.
Yeah, we've been here, unfortunately. A lot of people think about active shooter type situations, and they think that's the role of the police, is to stop that. While that is true, we view it as a different role in the sense that let's stop it before it ever starts. Not let's react once it does happen and try to stop it. Let's work so that we can stop it before it ever starts. And through research and training, we learned that most of these big events that happen in our country have precursors to them. You'll always hear the stories down in Parkland, place like that. Oh, they told the police about this. They did this and that. But if we can build relationships with kids so that they trust us to come to us, if they see someone's having an issue, that they feel someone is being bullied, someone is really having mental health issues, and they're worried about that person, and they can feel comfortable enough to come to us and tell us that, we can try to help that person before they ever get themselves into a really bad situation. So I think that's what we try to strive to do, is work behind the scenes and work with kids to support them so that we never have an incident like that here, hopefully.
Like you said, behind the scenes, we do have things that pop up, but we're very discreet 99.9% of the school has no idea, what we're working on most of the time because we're very discreet. We don't let anyone know who told us things like that. So, like you said, building that trust with the kids, they can tell us things. We're not going to tell someone who told us. We're just going to, handle it and take care of it.
Yes, as well as the teachers, building relationships with teachers is to feel comfortable coming to us and talking to us also. That's a big part of it.
How does the breakdown of grades work in terms of which grades you work with? Is it assigned?
No, we're really fluid. I have an office in the high school. Derek has an office in the one of the elementary schools at Jordan Jackson now. He was previously in the middle school, so he does a lot of work in the middle school. I tend to be over here more in the high school. We go across the street together. We're very fortunate that we have a campus-style setting, so we move around from building to building throughout the day, just about daily basis. We're in just about every building on a daily basis. So we just work together pretty well, and it's not, this is your task, this is my task. It's whoever's available and whoever fits best for the job. Some kids respond better to me, some will respond better to him. It depends on the relationships you have built up. So you have to read the kids and the teachers and see who they're more comfortable with, and that's really up to them also.
How important is it to get kids at the earliest grade levels comfortable being around police and seeing you guys? And
I feel it's a huge thing. I mean, we see the discord in the country today, where we have a huge us against them mentality. My humble personal opinion is that the only way we change that is by talking to people. We're not going to force people to do things or like people. The only way we do it is by talking and respecting people who are different than us. And so being here and building up relationships that people feel comfortable coming to you and know that you respect them, and you for whoever or whatever they are. I think that's the most important thing we can do in this country, is just trust each other and try to get back to talking to each other. And that's why if we start out at a young age all the way up through high school, hopefully we can build those relationships that translate into the community. And we see it. We'll go out on calls, when we're working a patrol shift, because we do that also sometimes. And you'll see that if we go to a call that's involving kids, they'll gravitate towards Derek or I because they know us and they trust us more. And I think that's a natural reaction of anybody. If you are somewhere and it's a situation going on and you see a familiar face and someone that you've known you trust, you're going to go to them. So I think that's been very important. And we're fortunate. The schools has really welcomed us with open arms. We go to all different sporting events. We've traveled with the boys football team out of state for multi-day trips. We've traveled with the girls basketball team on multi-day trips out of state. We do stuff with all the different teams and clubs, and so we've been very fortunate to be welcomed into the school district.
Yeah, it's nice for when we do those traveling trips, the kids to see you outside of work, because you're just laughing and joking. And generally when we go on those, the coach that plans them, there's some kind of educational aspect. We go to museum, things like that. So you're doing that with the kids too. Like, we had a lot of fun. We went to Ohio with the boys, went to New York with the girls, Sandy Hook with the girls. It was a lot of fun.
Since you've been here for a few years, do you see kids at earlier grade levels and then you see them advance up to the middle school level and then up to the high school level? What's it like seeing sort of that progression and seeing them growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I have two kids across the street in the younger grades, so I know most of the kids over there. But even over here, kids that were in middle school now, I see them in the high school now, and they're doing a lot better in most cases, and you see them doing great things in the classroom or on whatever sport or music talents, things like that. It's great to see them kind of growing up, and there's a big difference usually from the middle school to once they get to high school. You see that change. They do start to grow up and make better choices and start to really flourish.
Is there one or two instances or memories that you have that left a mark or that were more really memorable for you guys?
I mean, I have a few students, one in particular that I've worked with since 5th grade. When I first, it's a perfect example. When I first met him, he was not in the best place and had a very anti-police sentiment about him in the 5th grade when I got called over there. And over the years, through that, we've built it up where we started a relationship where he would start to come to the police station with me. He'd met the rest of the police officers. I'd pick him up at his house, go to a basketball game on a Friday night, got to know his mother, got to know his brothers and sisters, and so we've built a relationship all the way up. He unfortunately just moved this week to Taunton, but I know we'll stay in touch. He has my cell phone. I still talk to him. I talk to his mother. But so for something like that, my goal is to hopefully be around long enough that, still working, so when he graduates from Taunton High, to go down there and be part of that graduation, so to see a kid like that you can take from one place to another has been really memorable to me, and he's a special kid that, we've worked with over the years and will always be a special kid for as long as I work.
Yeah, so that same student, I was in the middle school previously. He was in middle school, and he was in my office 2, 3, 4 times a day, every day, coming checking in. I might have given him, a few pieces of candy. I'm not supposed to in the schools, but maybe like 3 or 4 pounds of candy. He would always be checking in. It was great. And to see some of our kids that have graduated now, some of them are like trying to become police officers at the police station. They work, as interns during college. It's really cool to see them. And like Detective Wright said, you'll see them outside of work and they'll immediately recognize you and come up to you and things like that. One of our students that graduated, he was a football player. We see him around town all the time. He will go out of his way to stop his car, come over and say hi to us, no matter who he's with, what he's doing. He'll make sure he comes over and say hi to us, ask us how we're doing, ask us how everything's going. So he's just a great kid.
As we wrap up, I do have to ask about the dog.
Sure.
I know he follows into the office here. What is that been like, and how do students sort of interact with him?
Oh, it's been awesome. It's been more than I could ever have hoped for. So his name is Bentley. He's a trained service dog from an organization called Needs, which is in Princeton, Mass. And they've been around for about 45 years, and they provide service dogs to people with physical disabilities, to children with autism, to veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder. And they have a program that they provide assistance dogs, which is what we call him, because he doesn't service the disability that I have personally. When I first came into the schools, like we talked about earlier, I was trying to find ways to build relationships with kids. And, my kids are all grown. I'm in my 50s, and I was, challenged to say, how can I relate to kids that are in elementary school all the way through high school? Why are they going to want to talk to a 50-year-old cop? And so it was kind of born at the Xfinity Center. We would be working concerts, and I would see people walking by us, and they'd be friendly enough, and they would say hello to us. But inevitably, we used to have bomb dogs, we still do bomb dogs that will work at the Xfinity Center, and the state police bomb dogs are Labradors, like Bentley is. And I would watch, and people would stop, like 85-90% of the people would stop and say, "Can I pet your dog?" to the police officer, and they'd say, "Sure." And as they were petting him, they would start talking to him. So I said, "Geez, that would really be a great idea if we could have it, an icebreaker for kids." So I started looking into it and working with the police department and Chief Sellon and Superintendent Murphy, and I found this organization, and they supported me through it all. And Bentley came to us about 2.5 years ago now, April of 2019. And it's just been a tremendous, from working with all the student populations to teachers. You'll just walk down the hall, you can see kids smile. Everybody in the school district knows him. To children with special needs, we go over, if children become dysregulated sometimes, he'll help get them back on track for the day, for their learning process. So it's really been such a great experience, and it makes my job that much more fun to come to work every day when you can, bring him with us and see how he brightens people's days.
Great. Well, as we wrap up, is there one final message that you guys want to give either to the school community or the greater Mansfield community, just about what your roles are and why you like being here?
I'll start. I think it's, when I came into the schools, I was asked by the chief if I'd be interested in coming, Chief Sellon, if I'd be interested in coming into the schools, and I jumped at the idea of doing it. I always wanted to do it. When my daughters were here, my older daughters, they didn't want me in the school. And I respect that, but once they graduated, I jumped at the opportunity, and I just think I believe it's the most important job in the police department, and I know I'm biased, but if you think about it on a daily basis in a town of about 25,000, there's almost 4,000 people here every single day that are children in our school district. And if you ask anybody, I think in any place that you go, what's the most important thing to you? It's your children, right? So we have the great opportunity to be blessed with a chance to represent the police department, represent our town, and interact with these kids and keep them safe and work with the teachers. And what more important job can there be to try to help mold the future than working with the kids? So I just feel blessed that I've been able to be in the schools. I thank the superintendent and the school committee and the chief and for letting us be here, and hopefully I'll be able to stay here till I retire.
Yeah, I had a couple of calls early on in my career that kind of shifted and changed the trajectory of where I wanted to go. They were involving children, and it really made me realize I wanted to work with kids to try and help kids and be a positive role model, change certain things in certain people's lives if I could. It's just great. Like I said, I have young kids in the schools as well, so seeing them and their friends, and they always see me, and they're always, yelling down the hallway, even though they probably shouldn't, saying hi, things like that. So it's great. I mean, like Detective Wright said, we think it's the best job in the police department. It's like the hidden gem. We love coming to work every day. It's always different. We never know what we're going to get. It can be crazy, busy, stressful some days. And other days you get to have a lot of fun with the kids. So, I mean, I love it. I'm just happy the chief has us both down here. Hopefully we can stay for a long time.
Well, Officer Wright, Officer McCune, thank you so much for all you do keeping the students safe and for everything you do in the schools, and good luck this year.
Thank you. Appreciate it.